So as a result of that, there were several bills that were put together and ultimately became what we call the JOBS Act. And we're going to talk about the JOBS Act the rest of the day. But the JOBS Act is basically several different bills. We're only going to talk primarily about the one that really deals with equity crowdfunding today. But the JOBS Act actually was signed into law April 5th, 2012. And when you talk about an interesting law, the JOBS Act, from a historical perspective, was actually 7 different laws, 7 different bills that were proposed that went in front of the House. They ranged from an IPO on-ramp to make emerging growth companies have an easier way to get into the IPO market, which was dying. There was a law to fix Regulation A, which is a great fundraising tool. It's a mini IPO that small companies can do to raise a lot of money. There was a rule to change private placements so that people could go out and actually go online and raise money through private placements instead of having to do it behind closed doors and only with customers and people that you already had done business with. So there was all these different laws put together that were these bills that were in front of the House. And they all dealt with capital raising. They all dealt with opening up the market of capital raising so small businesses had different ways to raise money. And another one of those was something that was called the startup exemption. And the startup exemption was a bill that basically said, you know, we're going to take Kickstarter and we're going to let people buy stock in their company through websites like Kickstarter. It was the first true method of equity crowdfunding. We're going to take that exact model. The Pebble Watch people can go online. The Pebble Watch people can not just give away a watch, but the Pebble Watch people can sell a few shares of their stock to those same people that love their watch. And that's not just rich people. That's anyone who wanted to invest. So the big differentiator of taking the power out of the hands of the few rich and elite and putting it into the hands of the people to fund things was the basis of, and the one thing that was talked about the most with the JOBS Act was that thing called the startup exemption. So at the time, this wasn't called the JOBS Act. At the time, this was simply these 7 bills that didn't make any sense together, and they have different rules and different things that apply, but they all dealt with raising money for small businesses. And a very, very bright congressional staffer reportedly, although no one has ever told me who this person was, came up with the idea of, you know, if we package all of these together and we put them into one law, and we call it something that everyone in Congress is going to want to vote for, I bet we can get all of these things passed at one time. So these 7 different things were packaged into what became a 22-page law, which is, for those of us in the legal profession, not a long and detailed law. It's 22 pages long, and that 22 pages law was called the JOBS Act. And JOBS stands for not jobs like we're going to create jobs, but the Jumpstart Our Business Startups Act.